I'm muted.
Okay.
Great.
Did y'all miss us?
Did you play a show when we were gone, or you forgot?
I did not. I was like in a whole bunch of areas, and I kept running out of. I never knew when I wouldn't have service because I was driving through the South, and then at some point we were going through some mountains, so I never knew when I would have service and wouldn't have service. So no, we did not play a show. So that's why I asked, did they miss us? We're back now, y'all.
What's that Martin episode? And it has Tommy Davidson. Did you miss me?
Did you miss me?
So we're back. We're still in the election season, right? Midterm election.
We deep in it. We deep in it.
We deep now. So we've had now. So far we've had the school board candidates. We've had one mayor and one commissioner. No, two commissioner candidates. Mm-hmm. For the Broward County. And so now we're still going through our series. Whoever responds to us gets an interview. Whoever doesn't,
And folks are reaching out too. So I think we have like about 3 or 4 emails that we have to respond to set some stuff up. Yeah.
Yes. So now we are, listen, if you're on our YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe.
Like the page. Y'all come and see. I mean, we have videos that got like thousands of views, and then it's like ain't that many subscribers on YouTube. So go over there and subscribe to the page too.
Go on over there to YouTube. That's
the same name. Maybe we'll drop the link in. We'll drop in the link so they'll know.
We'll do that. You do, yeah. So go on over there to YouTube while y'all surfing other stuff. Surf us too. True.
Check out the old videos. We've been and some of the candidates that are running now ran before, and so we have older videos of what they said then. See how it compares.
Right.
What they're saying now.
Our last interview was a little heated, but that's
did it was it though? We had a heated interview.
I think it wasn't on our part, but I think some people did get a little heated. Throwing out verbiage.
What was the last interview? The last interview was it was a school board candidate, right?
It was. So we're gonna go into the school board candidate. We have Antonio Burgess, who's running.
That's right, 3-5.
And District 5, we've had everybody from District 5 except for Antonio. We got one more person tomorrow in District 5 that's running.
No, Ms. Lewis, we haven't. Ms. Lewis hasn't scheduled us, but I don't know. I think
responded, but we can reach out to Ms. Lewis again so she can respond. Maybe she didn't get our email the first time, so we'll try to send her again. But we have majority of the, how many of y'all running in this race? Like 6?
Oh, man.
About like 6 y'all.
I lost count.
50-11.
I lost count. It's quite a bit of y'all in this race.
It really is.
Yeah. So we have Mr. Burgess, who is running as well, District 5. Tomorrow we will have what's her name?
Lynch Walsh.
Natalie, my twin sister's name is Natalie. You think I would remember that, right? Natalie Lynch Walsh. It will be here tomorrow. But we have Mr. Burgess today. We're gonna give him some time to introduce himself, let us know where he's from, who he repping, and then why he's running, and then we can go into question.
And the question is always why you running for seat 5, because there's always so many people in that race, right? And I'm not saying it's not good people in that race. It's just always like that one always tend to attract like 5, 6, 7 folks for it.
It does.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, sir. Tell everybody what you're about, what you're doing, why you're running, and go into questions.
All right. First and foremost, I want to thank Sandra and Arnique for providing this platform for the community and just the overall work that you all do as far as engaging people and around relevant and important topics, from elections to just important topics that matter most. My name is Antonio Burgess, and I'm running for school board seat District 5. My commitment to District 5 actually started when I was just a school-age child, attending North Fork Elementary School, right over there in the Fort Lauderdale area. Then I went to Parkway Middle School and Dillard High School. After graduating Dillard High School, I attended Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University. FAMU Rattlers, where I obtained, FAMU Rattlers. Listen,
Let me say, I almost wore my Gator shirt today, just because.
At FAMU, I received a bachelor's degree in education. But because of my commitment to enriching lives of young people, I returned back to the very school district that raised me. And I've worked specifically in District 5 as a teacher, instructional coach, and a coordinator over mentoring programs. Now, we all know as a college graduate, certified in education, I could have taught anywhere in Broward County, but I decided to come back to the very district that raised me, that educated me, and helped me. I believe the greatest equalizer is a world-class education, and our students deserve this regardless of their circumstances and the zip code that they were born into. After working on the elementary, middle, high school levels, schools that I've worked at, Walker Elementary School was the very first school in District 5 that I worked at as a third grade teacher. And then from there, I went on to Lauderdale Lakes Middle School, and then Dillard High School, and then to the district office, where currently now I am the coordinator for the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project. It's a male mentoring program that was started by Congresswoman Frederica Wilson in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. My civic and community experiences after graduating college are numerous, and they highlight my commitment to improving the educational experiences and outcomes for students in District 5. As your next District 5 school board member, my top 3 priorities are increasing student achievement, expanding support services, and improving safety and security. You know, as educators, we are often asked, what is your compelling why for what you do? Why am I running, you may ask? I'm running because when I go into schools across this district and I look into the eyes of boys and girls, I see hope in their eyes. And it's important to make sure that you have representation from the community, and that's going to lead with character, dignity. I'm running because teachers, staff are tired and underpaid, yet they show up each and every day to provide supports, to educate our most precious commodity. I'm running because I believe that the board and those in top positions must be held accountable, who represent the students and families in all communities. Accountability makes a good organization great and a great organization unstoppable. Everyone from the board members to the school custodian must embrace accountability.
All right, so I'm gonna say I took notes.
Listen, I know.
I think we lost him for a sec there.
No.
I think he's reconnecting. Do you see him, or is that my internet?
I'm on.
That's your internet.
Oh, my internet is faulty, but I don't hear him. Do you hear him?
I do.
Okay. You want me to? I can continue.
But if you continue on, and then I'll let Sandra know when to ask the questions.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm running because our parents are tired of their voices being taken for granted or falling on deaf ear in the public education process. I'm running because our schools in District 5 continue to lag in facilities. You know, I attended Parkway Middle School in 1996, and at that time they were talking about rebuilding the school. They have yet to rebuild the school. That is shameful and unacceptable. I'm a proven leader, community-oriented, mentor, and advocate for community and schools. I'm a product of District 5, and I'm ready to move District 5 forward.
All right. So let's try to figure out our things. So Sandra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry, y'all. My internet was acting up, so I missed a little what he said, but I was taking notes. So
are you able to hear me now?
Yeah,
can you hear me now? You can hear me now?
Y'all can hear me, right? I can hear everybody.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So go ahead with your question, your first question, Sandra, because I took notes.
No, so I was looking for some clarification, but I think you said that. So you're no longer in the classroom. You're a district coordinator for 5,000 Role Model, right? Mm-hmm. And why did you decide to make that shift from leaving the classroom, since, you know, the children are our greatest commodity. You're a great educator. Why is it that you chose to leave the classroom and go into the offices?
Okay, so that is a very good question. So when after teaching at Dillard High School for 2 years, I was a part of the 6 through 12, combining that school and repurposing the school and adding the middle school component. And the principal at that time gave me an opportunity to come over there because I was at Lauderdale Lakes and the demographics of students were pretty much the same, to start the middle school component. And then I had opportunity to work in the high school level. A couple people, they saw my work at Dillard High School. I've served in several capacities at Dillard High School, from class sponsor to department chair. You name it, I was pretty much it at that level. So then someone from the district reached out to me for opportunity. I admit I was hesitant because when you're working in a school, you have direct contact. You're able to build sustainable relationships with students that you see every day. But then I thought about it and I said, if I go to the district level, I'm able to make an even greater impact on students across this district, share my experiences, share my knowledge, and most of all, my passion, which is improving educational outcomes for students. It gives me opportunity to broaden my scope of work, and I took the opportunity. And since then, it's been amazing.
Okay. All right. So I heard your 3 goals. There was like increasing student achievement, support services, and safety and security. How can a school board member increase student achievement? What role would a school board member play in actually making something like that happen?
So one of the things that a school board member does is they approve the strategic plan for the school year. And those are the goals, the educational goals, just the overall goals for the entire organization. That is the role of a school board member. Accountability. Our superintendent, we are our superintendent's boss. We hire and we monitor and supervise our superintendent. And we have high expectations for her. We can also ask and collaborate with our other school board members to make sure that schools have the necessary tools, resources in place, and systems in place so students can achieve and be successful. We also can make sure that we hold our superintendent accountable in hiring strong leadership for those schools and bringing in resources for those schools. As a school board member, I advocate on behalf of my parents, my students, and staff that work in the district. I have the opportunity to bring in different resources, of course, through the superintendent, but those are conversations that you have with the superintendent. Those are goals that you set with your superintendent for your district, and those are the educational goals, making sure that the students have a multi-tiered system of supports academically and behavior, making sure that the schedule, the teaching and learning is taking place and that it is meaningful, relevant, and rigorous for our students so our students can succeed and achieve.
Okay, so I have one more follow-up question because I'm not an educator in that sense. And so you said the school board members approved the strategic plan for the upcoming school year. So within that plan, does it have different goals for each school, or is it just some overall goal that the school board comes with and they say they want to see overall for the entire school district? Or is it something that each school has their individualized plan? You guys come together, review it, and say, okay, we're going to allow this school to do one thing. Or is it just an overall goal that they want to see for the Broward County school system?
So a couple things. The educational goals are district-wide. Student achievement, academic, math, those are district-wide. But each school has what we call a individualized education plan that goes to the state each year. And it includes your reading goals. It includes your math goals, your science goals, your community engagement. It includes how you're going to deal with your low 30 percentile students. So making sure that those schools have meaningful and realistic plans and also have the resources to accomplish those achievement plans.
Okay, so how are the schools in District 5 doing with their individual plans?
So, looking at the data, our District 5 schools have always lagged. There are pockets of success, I will say. So let me start off with some positives. We do have great programs in our schools, and we have great we have great school leaders, and we have great teachers. But educating the child, the whole child, it's a hard task, but it is definitely attainable. Um, you know, Looking at the data, the academic data, we've had some schools that have lagged when you compare them to the other counterparts and other districts around the district. Our reading scores, we had about 3 schools out of our that were I wouldn't say low performing, but schools that needed improvement that significantly improved by double-digit points in reading for our third graders. FSA scores just came out, I believe, this morning, and I took a look at those scores, and overall, from the district standpoint, we increased in math when you're looking at the academic math data from last year. However, I definitely want to take a even closer dive and look at the comparison data because last year was a COVID year. I mean, we're still in COVID, so every student didn't test. So you really want to make sure that you capture all of those students. So you definitely want to look at the data, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, so you can see those trends, whether we are improving or not. But that's
So if is there something that you think District 5 needs more than maybe some of the other districts that don't have those kind of challenges? And if so, what are they, and how would you, as the school board member for District 5, get specifically what it is that District 5 needs in order for them to do better? Because it sounds to me like when you said the whole student, sometimes people need like maybe some social services, they need some intervention, they may need like some services that are really not provided by the schools or from another agency to come and provide that. I don't know if as a school board member you can do that, but have you been do you think, or from just what you've done so far, identified something that's probably unique to District 5 that if they had it they would improve? And if so, how would you be able to get that in order to move the district forward?
okay. Thank you. I've had the opportunity, because I go to different schools, and some of the schools that I provide mentoring support to, I have conversations with administrators and teachers, and a lot of times, they talk about resources, they talk about community involvement from different organizations, different programs that come into the school, and those programs can be from mentoring, those can be financial, those can be from just people volunteering, instructional resources. I will go out on a limb and say that our school district is blessed because we have a lot of instructional resources. But for the most part, the conversations that I have, just resources from the community, businesses, parental involvement, and just high performing and teachers that care.
Also, there's a question in the chat. They said, what is one specific resource that you are aware of in the out west schools, but not in the District 5 schools? That's a question in the chat from Nikki. Really,
well, one of the things that I do see when in the schools out west is I do see more parental involvement out west, and that parental involvement could possibly bring in different resources, from funding to just in-kind donations. And I know a lot of our parents, they work 2 jobs, and some of them are not able to come into the schools and volunteer like the schools out west. But I have advocated through our district mentoring programs in bringing in different businesses, different corporations to come in and provide support and mentoring. Our schools are in dire need of mentoring support from different community members and different organizations. So that is one thing that I would definitely advocate for. Definitely more student support services, and not just student support services, but support services for staff, and families. A lot of times, we educate the child, but we always forget to talk about the parent. We got to make sure that we bring the parent into the equation, and that could be a family counselor. That can be the family counselor providing counseling support to the entire family. We focus a lot on the child, but what about the parent and the family?
Okay.
So-
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go back on and push back a little bit. So it sounds to me that you're saying that the schools in your district need more money. And if they do need more money, where is this money going? What resources are you talking about that your district would need, as far as, because I think a person asked a question in the chat. You said that one of the things you see out of school out west, more parents are coming there and they're bringing in more money. I'm assuming you're talking about like PTO, PTA organizations and stuff like that. So what is it that the District 5, when you say resources, what are you talking about? What kind of money are you talking about, and where is the money going in order to get, because you said that the scores are low, in order to get the scores up? Is there something we're lacking? Because I know she asked you the question about specifically, and I'm not sure if you have a specific answer, but I'm just, where's the money going to go? What can money do? If you had an opportunity to get tons of money to flood into District 5, what are some of the things that needs to get done in order for it to work?
Well, what I would do is, as a school board member, I would have the superintendent bring District 5 principals together, bring them all to the table, and find out, what do you need? What do you need, not only to keep your school selling, but to keep your school excelling and reaching for the top. Our principals, our school leaders know most about our schools individually, because every school does not need the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's that equitable piece that's important when you're providing those resources. Resources could be community involvement, more business, more partnerships from the local businesses. In our communities, we have tons of businesses, and we even have larger corporations, but they don't step foot into a school that their building is right behind or next door to. I would definitely advocate for more of those resources. And that can be in lieu of the parental involvement piece, or supplement the parental involvement piece. So I will bring principals together. We'll come to the table and we'll find out, what does each school need? And that could be a needs assessment, a conversation. We can create a list together, and then we can go from there in providing those supports and resources.
And how would you make sense? And what about the parent involvement? What would you do as a school board member for District 5 to get parents more involved?
So the pandemic has really, really taught us a lot. It has taught us how to be innovative and how we reach each other. It has even taught us how we teach, and it has brought, look at the platform that we're on now. I think we have to be more creative than the traditional coming into the building every single day. We have virtual platforms where parents can participate on a virtual platform like we're doing now. We have to adjust our hours and our times. Maybe meet in the afternoon for different parental events. Parental involvement doesn't necessarily mean coming into school during the normal school hour. Schools are community centers in the school. Okay, they're open from in the morning to the afternoon, to after school programs that are housed at each school. There's several different opportunities from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on how parents can be involved. And then again, that's a conversation that I would love for our superintendent and myself to have with our school leaders, and find out what type of parental involvement that you need, and what does that look like for your building and the students in your building.
Okay. So since we've been talking about the superintendent, got a couple. got a couple of questions and some stuff I need some clarification on. So
Let's go.
at the top of your responding to Sandra's question, you mentioned that the superintendent, that the school board members are the superintendent's boss. So there was a meeting. When was the meeting, Sandra? Last month?
About 2 weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so there was a meeting where, you know, the new appointed superintendent decided she was doing some organizational, what is it, chart, whatever.
She reorganizes the school district in terms of like positions and things like that.
Right. So she made that organizational trash, and then she, school board members decided to talk about it, but there was several school board members that had dissenting comments, but yet still she got a
majority of them then,
and she got a full yes, even though there were dissenting comments. So as a school board member, knowing the information that you know, because I'm pretty sure you're running for school board, so you are able to, you know, do your research, learn about what's going on, and I'm almost sure that you saw that meeting as well and understand what happened during that meeting. As a school board member, what would possess a school board member to vote yes on something that they believe?
We don't know what would have possessed them. We just got to ask him, like, what would he have done had he been in that position, knowing that there was some opposition? He don't know what's happening in them people's heads.
He can tell me, he can respond and say, I don't know what possessed.
I don't know what's happening in them people's heads.
I can say what I would do, okay? But he could say that. So what would possess a school board member to have a dissenting comment, right? But still vote yes on with a superintendent that clearly the community didn't want.
You know, I watched that school board meeting, and while watching it, I was actually out of town for work. And you know, I listened to each and every school board member comment, and for the life of me, until today, I just don't understand how could you vocally object to that that change and still vote yes for it. I just don't understand that. If I was a school, and the reason why I believe that there was so much uproar and so much backlash is because it was rushed. Not only was it rushed, you didn't include the greatest stakeholders, the community, the parents. Without the parents and the community, you don't have a school board. It was rushed. I would have voted no on it, and I would have asked some questions. What is your reason for doing X, Y, and Z? Everything we do is for a reason.
Well, one of the answers was like it was a budget thing, but they couldn't explain. You know, it was to save money, but they can't explain if it's really going to save any money in the long run. But that was one of the reasons why they did it.
That was another thing. They said it was a budget, and they said that it was going to save the district money because they cut people jobs and they cut people livelihood for no reason. Okay. Not only they couldn't even provide the actual numbers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that they didn't take.
And let's stop saying the superintendent couldn't provide. That's her job, right? I'm not gonna do the they foolishness. That's her job, right? So she comes to the table with nothing. And you have several.
They're asking for a whole lot of something. Asking for a lot.
A whole lot of something. She comes to the table with nothing, and majority of the school board members dissented, but then vote 9-0.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the problem is? You know, our school board, we have what we call policies, and from day one, when the superintendent came to us, and you know the search, you know, it was done correctly, but they broke the policy or amended the policy.
The search was done correctly. The original search, not the interim.
The original search was done correctly. Oh, okay. Correct. Yeah. Well, clarify me because the second time around, no.
They broke the policy or amended the policy by hiring the superintendent. I mean, the interim for the job. They didn't do a thorough process in really vetting for a superintendent. That's the main. And my comments does not talk against the superintendent. It talks against the process and how it was done. People weren't a part of the process, and even when they did, everything was just so rushed. No community input, no intentional community input, thoughtful community input. Everything was rushed and controlled by the board, and that's just not how you do things when you want to build trust for the greatest stakeholders, which are the parents that vote. It's just not right. It's not right.
So there's a question about, and I think it might be a little bit of, there's a question in the chat from Mark Spence who says, how much did the teacher union influence the school board vote? If you have an answer to that, if you know or suspect or have a theory on that, you can answer it. But if you don't, then, I'm
a BTU member, and I've been a BTU member since teaching in Broward County Public Schools. And I only can go by what I saw. So when I saw the meeting, I saw the first couple of 6 or 7 speakers. They were all BTU members.
No, the first 15 were BTU.
Okay.
The first 15.
Okay.
Not 6 or 7, the first 15.
Okay. I know it was a lot of speakers.
It was the first 15.
Yeah, there were a lot of speakers, but I just could not understand how you have your BTU members and they all spoke for the change. Teachers play a major role, and students can't learn without having high quality, high performing teachers in front of them. But I do believe that there is some sort of influence from the BTU. I mean, let's just be real. It was evident, and it was strategic during that meeting. All they spoke in a row. It wasn't even sporadic.
It doesn't look good when there's pictures floating around with the BTU president at a concert with the superintendent too. So,
oh Lord, I didn't see that now.
Yeah, she was at a concert.
The optics of that does not look good.
The optics don't look good. Yeah.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Well, when we talked with the last candidate who was BTU endorsed, we asked the same questions, didn't get an answer. And
you know what? You didn't get an answer.
Well, we're going to ask the same questions tomorrow too with the other person, because she's been BTU'd endorsed as well. So I'm asking the same questions. My thing is, I already know that Anna Fusco was all there sending all these people to be in the meetings and all that other stuff. The question becomes, as the school board member, how will you combat that? How will you be able to be there and be for the community and not be influenced by BTU leaders and the such?
So how can I be there for the community and don't be influenced by BTU? That's what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like I said, our school district's greatest stakeholder is our parents. I'm a school board member, not only for our teachers and staff that help our school district perform and move, but for our parents. Our parents play a vital role in the educational process for our students and for their kids. I would be transparent. I will be inclusive, and I will work with my other colleagues on the school board to come up with some type of solution. But any decision that I make is going to be based on what's good for kids. I've always been taught that any decision that you make educationally should always come from the premise of what is good for kids, and is this good for kids? It's unfortunate that those organizations, the politics of those organizations get into the way, and you know who hurts the most? Our most precious commodity, which are our children. It's unfair, it's shameful, and it's despicable.
So
No, because when he was saying like he would do what's best for the kids, and I remember, and I'm not saying who we interviewed in particular, but one of the comments where it was like there are times where you have to do what's best for the organization. And that was one of the responses that was given, like, yes, I don't agree with this. They didn't want to vote for it. They was like, but from an organizational standpoint, that is what needed to be done, because you want to have a unified front to show that you have support. And if you don't, then it can create more tension. So that was one of the explanation that was given on why
that was one of the explanations of the candidate that didn't want to answer.
No, I'm not saying who it was, and I'm not saying it was now. It was just a response that we were given at some point from a person that ran.
Understood.
People had to see, and they said that there are times where decisions has to be made, and you have to think what's the best for the organization, even though it may have some sort of negative impact on the students.
So I'll say this: my belief is, when you do what's right for kids, you do what's right for the organization. Everybody is a teacher. They are a part of this organization because they want to help students succeed and be successful and be college or career ready. Teachers, they staff, adults, they do play a major role. But if you come with passion and you want to do what's right for kids, any decision that you make that's best for kids should be what's best for the organization, which is to educate and make sure our students graduate and go on to be college and career ready.
All right. So I'm gonna talk about, because you mentioned student achievement and expanding support staff and safety and security. So I have because I know many of the candidates talk about safety and security, but I do have a little issue with the safety and security part, because after the shooting, there were earmarked funds sent by the federal government, actually the state government, to Broward County to bolster safety and security. I believe there was 13 million at one point, and then I believe the zone that had the shooting received another 18 million. There are some funds, I might be off a little bit, but there was quite a bit of money that was pumped into the district for safety and security. So when I hear candidates talk about, I want to be able to bolster safety and security, what is in safety and security that you want to bolster when you've already received so much money in the district already to do that? Why not put more money into mental health, for instance, which is a great time to do that, especially now. What is it that in safety and security that you feel which is one of your platforms, that you feel that needs bolstering?
Okay, that is a very good question. And just to go back, our district has done a lot, and you mentioned some of the funding sources and processes that were done. We've updated cameras, single point entry. We have Safer Watch, Fortify, which are emergency alerts and ongoing. We've updated we have a 1-800 24-hour hotline where students can call in and if they have any issues. One of the main things I think we need more of, we need universal protocols. When I travel throughout the different schools, I see things different. Yes, we have the single point entry, and you got to come in, you have to hit the buzzer to go in, show your ID. But levels, like some schools, I can go through the parking lot and get to the front door. There are certain protocols that certain schools do. We need a universal protocol that everything looks the same at every school when it comes to safety and security. If everybody is at that first gate, that's where everyone needs to be, not at the second gate or the third gate, or, we need to have universal protocols and procedures.
Let me stop right there. Let me stop you right there, because one of the reasons why I think that may or may not work is because what happens with traffic. Because my son goes to a school that's in a real residential neighborhood, and one of the big problems they have is traffic, because of the times that everyone has to come in, and they're all trying to, and there's only one way to get into the school. So do you really think one way would work for everybody, particularly since some schools are in very residential neighborhoods. And I think I went to a school in District 5, and I don't remember which one, but I went because I went to speak to a group of students, and that school was like like it was houses like across the street, to the side, to the left, to the right. If you have an entry that way, how would that impact traffic and the people that live in that neighborhood that's probably trying to go to work at the same time? So do you really think one-way entry with one gate actually works when some schools are in like residential neighborhoods?
So you made a valid point, Sandra. That is true. That is true. There are some schools that the way that they were built, depending on the time period that they were built, the setup is different. They don't have a front gate. However, but when you come through a gate, there has to be a main entrance, whether it's into a parking lot. And if that's going to be that main entrance, someone needs to be there. Someone from security, safety needs to be there. There also needs to be, I go to some schools take your tag number, they take your license. I go to some schools, they don't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
And those are loopholes that really that cost us later, and we cannot afford that. So if every school is going to take ID and tag number, or ID only, or just tag number, every school needs to do that.
So should they decide whether or not they're going to do it at the gate, or because once you get to the office, they taking your ID at the office. But some of them, like my son's school, they take it when you coming through the gate. Well, both of their schools, they take them at the gate. But there's some schools, it's like once you get in the building on the property and you going into the main office, that's when they look at your ID. So what are you advocating for? And once they're trying to come in through the gate, or if they at least take it at the office, which I think they all do. I can't ever remember going into a school and they didn't ask me for my ID in order for me to access the school.
Do you see him? Because I don't see him.
I don't see him.
Okay.
I don't see him. I think it's just, it'll take a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the issues. You know, I think they all check ID, right?
Well, but the coming in the morning, there's no stopping. You just dropping off your kids in the morning or whatever. I think it's when you're visiting and you're coming in, that's when they start asking you for the ID. And he's right. Some schools do it and some schools don't do it. And that's
when you come in to visit, like
yes, some schools do it. Yes, some schools be like, go on in. Some of them do it and some of them don't do it. So that's an issue because the schools where I'm at, they do it. And then when I go to the schools, either in District 5 or District 6 or whatever, they don't do it. Some of them don't do it. They don't take your name in the beginning. They be like, oh, he lost. Maybe
he's gonna come back in. Yeah, so he probably has to log out and come back in. There's some issue with the internet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I've seen that where, like I said, I can't think, because my daughter, when she did summer school, she would do summer school at different locations.
Right.
Every time we went to the school, I mean, I've had kids since my kids started school in like 2012. So I don't know what happened before that, but at least since 2012, every time I went to a school, they wouldn't necessarily always ask me at the gate, but by the time I tried to get into that front office, they were like, let me see your ID. You know, so
can you hear me?
Too. Yep. Yes, we can hear you. And
I'm sorry, my laptop died.
No worries.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, no, we were making. Let me finish this comment, then we'll get you to finish your question.
Okay.
You know, like how they take your ID and then they make this picture of you. They take your picture and you stick it on yourself. Because I'm so dark, you could never see my face. So I'm like, yo, why would you even like print this dark picture and submit it? But so my point was just that they always do check and they print this thing, and I'm like, you can't even see. All you see is eyeball and teeth, but you're gonna have me walk around this school with a picture and you can't identify who I am. But all that to say is that they usually check either at the gate or once you get to the school. And that's so I can't speak for before that.
Right. So the question to remind Antonio was, what are you advocating for? Are you advocating for making sure that everything is similar from the gate to the front office, or just the gate, or only just the front office? Like, what are you advocating for?
Okay. So what I'm advocating for are a couple of things. That so universal procedures are consistent across the district. I would love to have whatever we decide and what's best for students and keeping students safe. That's what I would advocate for, whether that be checking ID and tag number at the gate. I would definitely have a conversation with local law enforcement officers and specialists in that area to find out what is the best way when you're dealing with those two different options and choices. I would advocate for more training for our staff, and that training doesn't always include school-based people. Starts from the board, superintendent on down. I would definitely advocate for more training for our school personnel, our staff on protocols and procedures. I would advocate for quarterly security assessments to make sure that security is being provided, safety is being provided consistently and ongoing. And then I will also advocate for compliance officers. We need to make sure that every school is compliant, and that's that progress monitoring piece that is important. I think that's that progress monitoring piece that is missing on a lot of stuff and decisions that we make as board members. The follow-up and really evaluating if it is being done effectively.
All right. So one of the things that came up, because there was a panel with some school board folks like earlier this week. It might have been Monday. I don't know what day it is because I've been, and they talked about metal detectors, right? They talk about metal detectors. Some of us say that yes, that's what we need for the safety and security in the school. Others are like, no. Where are you on the whole metal detector as one of the ways to have safety and security in the schools?
Okay, so that's a good question. And metal detectors are a tool, that you use when you are, when you want to ensure safety and security. And like I said, it's a tool that you use and it's an option. Um, I do advocate for metal detectors. And I think you are talking about the wands, right?
No, some of them were saying the wand, and others were like the actual machine that you got to walk through. Like when I go to the federal courthouse and the federal whatever, they make me walk through. Sometimes I got to take my shoes off. I never do because I always make sure I have flip-flops when I go, so I don't have to take my shoes off. But some of them, that's what they were talking about, a metal detector in the school that the students have to walk through when they are going to school.
So I do advocate for the wands. I advocate for the training. I think there should be specific personnel in the school that use.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to be clear. You want to wand everybody that's coming in, or somebody that they think it may be necessary to wand just because they may have
if it warrants it, and if there's a reasonable suspicion for the use of it. But that also goes back to training that specific personnel in that building, and not just training on how to use it, but they need to have cultural bias training. You really need to make sure that you have someone that is not just using it based off their opinion, and that they are highly trained to use wands. Those big metal detectors are very expensive. I do advocate, and I like the fact of the wands, but you can't,
Okay,
like you said, you
I
cannot.
That's gonna be a whole profile.
I'm gonna stop you right there about the wand thing, because the currently with what's going on in the district with the wand is they're doing this randomly. I have the issue with the word random. Okay.
Me too.
I have an issue, especially you a black man, I'm a black woman. I have an issue with the word.
We got black children.
We have black
I got some black kids.
I have an issue with the word random, and I do not foresee that the district will remove the word random out of their policy when you have the wand issue, right? That's my first issue. My second issue is trauma to kids, because our children, our babies understand what wanding looks like, understand what metal detectors look like walking through. And it's not something that is a positive in our community. That's something that is a negative in our community. So with that being said, I'd like to hear why you are okay with that. And I know you've already explained that, with training, highly trained person, implicit bias and all that, but I'd like to understand what your thought process is And
I want to add a little bit to that. And that training is real tricky, right? Like I so I teach criminal justice students, and so I end up working with a lot of law enforcement, right? And a lot of those people that's training, I'm like, y'all need to come holler at me because there's some flaw in y'all training because they have their own implicit biases that they don't even recognize or understand. And you talked about cultural sensitivity. It's some of it that they don't get, and they're the one that's out here training folks. Got them thinking they doing their job right, and the job ain't right, So that's another thing too. It's like, even you want to give training, but who's doing this training? Because I see some of the people that are training law enforcement officers that they're putting on the streets, and I'll be like, for real, for real, okay. But go ahead, tell us why.
You're absolutely right. I think the training needs to be specific. Like you said, I am a Black man. Sometimes when I go into stores, I can see that people are looking, people, are watching you. It's a stigma that goes with Black men. And we definitely don't want to perpetuate or start that at an early age for our children. However, I think there needs to be a thorough, detailed report from anyone that warns someone. And then not only a thorough, detailed report, but there needs to be follow-up. And there needs to be an assessment of why you did it and was it justified by the district staff. There needs to be an assessment sheet or some type of sheet that anybody that warns someone, they have to fill that out. They have to participate in the interview to see and to make sure that they use the best choice. Warning is just a tool. It's a tool, one of the tools that safety and security people use.
Okay. All right. So I would be remiss if I don't ask questions about emails that we received. So we received an email. Your face. We did. We received an email, and the email stated that you do not live in District 5, but then you moved to be in District 5 to file. So let's clear that up, because I'm about
listen.
So I'm about clearing it up, and I'm about putting it all out there because listen, you for the people, right? You said that you lived, worked, all that in District 5. Let's clear that up. We got an email. There was they sent proof, whatever proof they thought that they sent.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Allegedly, it was proof.
They thought they sent.
Allegedly, it was proof.
Whatever they thought they sent. Okay, but let's clear that up, Antonio. Please, let's clear that up. So you live in District 5, or you don't live in District 5, or you used
Yes, I live in District 5.
Okay, so let's clear that up.
So, and I'm glad you asked that, and I had to clear that up. That's because that's people who don't want to focus on the issues, and really about educating kids. If you're about educating kids and really want to improve the outcomes for students, that's the last thing that you would focus on. I do live in District 5. When I did my amendment, so let me clarify this. I'm not a politician. I'm an educator.
Right.
Okay. I've never ran for office. This is my first time running for office. So there's some things that I don't know. There's some things that I am learning as I go along. And there's some things that I'm willing to learn to improve and advance in. But I know where my heart is and where my passion is, which is for students and families around this district. I do live in District 5. When I went off to college, I used my parents' address. I lived in Tallahassee for 45 years. I used my parents' address as a permanent address. That is the address that I know for a fact, if anything happens, I can always come back home. Right. So that is the address that I put down when I initially did my first filing. And I also, when I did my amendment, I changed my name because I included my middle name. They told me don't put your middle name because it will distract the voters. Put your first name and your last name. So I changed my name, and I changed it to the address that I currently rent in the city of Lauderhill.
So I completely understand what you're saying, because when I was running, I changed my name twice. Because one minute I changed it as like, you're going to be on this side of the lane. 1 minute, so I changed my name like 2 times when I was running back in 2020. So I completely understand the changing of the names and all that other stuff. But
listen, I understand the address thing too. Listen, I was using my mama address. Listen, I was using my mama address even after I bought my house. And it wasn't until I got pulled over by the police and they asked me, why are you in this neighborhood? Because your address say you live. I was like, no, but I live there. They was like, well, that ain't what your license say.
Exactly.
So,
and you know, I lived in 3 or 4 different
residential
residential areas in Tallahassee. I moved from apartment to apartment.
Yeah.
But like I said, I use my home address because that's where I know that's the location that I know will always be permanent in my life. So and whoever said that, and I know some people are talking about it because they don't know what.
I mean, I can say who said it because we've got an.
You know, he clarified. He understood that.
Oh yeah, it's clarified. But I want this to go on record. The people that's saying it,
we don't even
because they don't want to talk about the issues that matters most to the students and families in District 5.
Right.
Well,
that's all it is.
Yeah, no, it is. It is absolutely, and they're hooked up with another candidate. But that's just it. But I always want to give people the space so people could see and know that that's not how people roll. We don't roll like that. This is what we do. It is what it is.
But that is so funny because there's some people who we know that's running now that don't live in the places that they're running for, but they're like, yeah, if I win, I'll move over there. Okay,
not only running, but currently hold office now. You have the governor of the state of Florida that appointed somebody that lives on 20 miles away from District 5.
Yeah.
But nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
We got to change our mindset and really
even on the county commission seats too. Those folks that are representing those one of the people that got the county commission seat don't live in the area of the district that they're representing. So that's a whole lot of nonsense anyway.
Yeah, it's actually funny to me though. I always laugh, when I hear that, and I know who's saying it, and I have yet to redirect them or tell them about it. And I'm not, because that's not what's important to me. What's important to me is moving District 5 forward, improving student achievement for our students, bringing community partnerships in for our schools and our families, safety and security, providing equity. Let's talk about the issues at hand that matters most to the students and family in District 5. There's so much that we can talk about and investigate in District 5. Put that energy towards that.
Yeah. And so when we were talking about doing things for the school, it was like a couple different thoughts come in my mind, and my mind goes like in all these different directions. And the thing that really got to me when you were talking about how not only you, but some of the people making comments about parent involvement. So I'm a kid that had Haitian parents. My mother wasn't coming to the school. My daddy used to come to the award shows because he understood when they called my name and they gave me something, right? Anything else, brother man wasn't going because he don't even understand what they're talking about, period, right? And my mother worked and she wasn't going. She was like, yo, leave me alone. I sent you to school. They're supposed to educate you. That's it. They weren't coming. So part of the lack of parent involvement, I'm gonna at least speak for a lot of the children that have Haitian parents, right? Their understanding, their cultural understanding is like, I send my kid to school, the teachers are supposed to be qualified, they're supposed to educate them and then send them back, and that's it, and I'm not supposed to do nothing else. That whole I gotta do homework and all of that, they be like, wait, what? No, that's what you go to school for. So some of that community, so in terms of parental involvement, you may get some of that, but then because some parents aren't involved, that doesn't mean that they don't understand, they're not interested, and they're not invested in their child's education. They just have a different expectation when they send their kids to school. That's one point I want to make. The other one is that I think it was a principal in Philly or somewhere else that did that. When we talked about like some of the resources that some of the communities needed, like one of them, he realized that some of the kids didn't have ways to wash their clothes, so he added a laundromat, a laundry type situation into school so the students would be able to do that, right? And there was another one, he realized that the children were like getting in trouble and after school, and that there were they lived in a neighborhood, and I'm not trying to say District 5 is a bad neighborhood, but it was a challenging community to be in. And so he had a program where he kept the school open until 11 o'clock right? Where the kids would have something to do in that time, and then they would make sure they get home because they live close enough. Is that something? Similar programs like that. Is that something that the school board can do to have them implement in the schools, or would that be something that can't happen at all here? So one was the laundry program and then the other one was it was similar to like midnight basketball, where they kept the school open until 11 o'clock and had like after school activities that were paid for, where the kids would have some engagement until late that evening.
So let me go back to the first part of parental involvement. A lot of times people think parental involvement means, coming to different school events, showing up. I think the first parental involvement step is making sure that your child gets to school on time each and every day and is present. I think that is the first part. If we can make sure and encourage our parents to make sure that they do that, that would be a great hurdle and a major impact in the educational process of students. Their parental involvement looks so different at different schools. Like I said earlier, it can be making sure students get on time, communicating with the teachers with the teacher call, different formats and different platforms. To answer your question about that enrichment piece, having those after school programs, most of our schools in District 5 have after school programs. Some are fee based, some are 21st Century, which is a federal grant that is provided from the federal government for our schools, some of our Title I schools or our high need schools. And that 21st Century program provides academic support. It provides enrichment that can be from teaching students how to laundry, mentoring. Several of our schools have those programs. Lauderdale Lakes Middle School, Larkdale Elementary School have those 21st Century programs. You have the YMCA that is heavily involved in our after school programs too. And those are also called our extended learning opportunities at our schools after the traditional 7.5-hour day. Most of our schools in District 5 have those opportunities. I've talked with principals. The couple of schools that I've been at, they've had those opportunities where they will have late night gym. They've had those opportunities. I've even stayed after school several times to make sure students have a safe place, because our schools are safe place and they are learning institutions in our communities, which are important for our families. So there are school leaders that are doing that now in District 5. I know one school have a thrift store at their school, where not only do students work at the thrift store, but they have the opportunity where they can come in and purchase clothes at a very, very low rate. They can also bring clothes in. They can work and volunteer throughout the day during their personalization or any other hour of the school day that they have. So those opportunities are available in our schools, and it really boils down to the leadership of the school and getting teachers and employees that are dedicated and committed. And when I say dedicated and committed, I'm not saying you do it for free or you do it without money, because I believe that people should be compensated for their time and their effort.
All right. So I just have one final question, and I don't know if you had a final question, Sandra.
No,
My final question is on the referendum. So the referendum is going to be on the ballot, and I want to know what your feelings are about it. I was in a meeting the other day with the women voters where Ms. Marte, who's the CFO for the district, talked about the referendum and about percentages and all that other stuff. So my concern is that, with the bond, we had given money that was on the ballot, and then they told us a certain amount of money, and then it became more money than that. And I understand that the other districts are also going out for a referendum as well. They're going out for $1 million. I think Broward County is going out for less than that, like half. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you tell constituents who are already leery of the fact that the district is not doing a good job with managing money?
So first and foremost, I do support the referendum. And I've said it on several different platforms and I've told people I do support the referendum. Um, you know, I, I was a classroom teacher, and I've benefited from the referendum. I know the difference that it makes as far as finances and the quality of life as an educator in Broward County. You know, if it means that I can go, that teacher can go to Publix and get Boar's Head meat instead of Publix brand meat, I'm going to vote for that referendum.
Mm-hmm.
It is important that we make sure that there's some type of oversight or accountability piece that is attached to that. One of the things I would like to see is that all staff benefit from it. Secondly, I would like to see that the salary supplement is included into the teacher's pension. Okay, because we know that teachers, if you're a part of the FRS, which is the Florida retirement system, your top 5 years will determine the average from your top 5 years will determine your salary. You have some teachers that are getting an additional 3,000. You have some teachers that are getting additional 2,000. That's a whole nother conversation as far as the equity piece to who gets what and the percentages that I do disagree with. But I do support the referendum. I think it's important to provide any type of pay that we can provide to our dedicated employees that show up each and every day to help our students and our families be successful. I do support that. However, we got to come up with a way. It is imperative that we come up with a way that we don't get tied to it. When every 3 years, when we start approving this and we're asking for more, there has to be some way where we can where we should be able to sustain it. And that may mean looking at our budget, cutting waste, cutting fat, cutting pork, and using that money to replace it. Every 3 years, we can't continue to ask for the referendum and depend on it. There has to be a way where we can be able to sustain without it. I don't think it may not be the right choice, but it's the best choice right now. And one of some of the backlash that the community has got is because you gotta involve the community ongoingly. Okay, they have to be a part of the process on a consistent base, not when it's time for a referendum or not when it's time for a special vote. You got to constantly engage the community, the parents, which are the greatest stakeholders in the process, consistently throughout the school year. Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, I don't know what they're doing, but the backlash has not been as great as Broward, as has been as loud as Broward. And I don't understand. I don't know why, but I will ask those questions and I will constantly engage our constituents and our families, our greatest stakeholders in the process, because without them, there's no us. So it's important that we are using taxpayer dollars correctly, and that includes oversight, transparency, and accountability.
Well, I can tell you the reason why it's loud over here in Broward because representation matters, and the school board does not represent the community. So that's just my
Not only that, but things like what just happened with the big organizational change and where things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how you build trust.
right.
Right. You want to do
Right
what you
when I
want to
used
do,
to
how
train
you want to
teachers.
do it. Yeah,
I
you,
used to
you want to
train
do what
first
you
year
want.
teachers.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I used to train first year teachers, and I
Mm-hmm.
used to always tell them, you're going to need your parents throughout the school year. On the first day of school, you call all of your parents and introduce yourself. Give them your number or your contact information. I said, when you call parents all the time about bad stuff, you don't build that trust with them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build that trust with the parents of the students that you are teaching. If that child is doing something good, even after you've called because the student needs redirection, for behavior or poor choice that they made. Even if that child improved 10%, you call that parent back and you tell that parent, now, mama probably ain't do nothing but yelled at or took some away, but you call that parent back and you tell that parent, Johnny, I don't know, mom, whatever conversation you had with him, Johnny had a better day. And you point out specific successes that Johnny had. Our board has to do that. We have to engage and we got to show up to work and not just show up on board days when it's time for board meetings. We got to show up at work. We got to go to our schools, have conversations with our parents, whether that's through community meetings, whether that's through, and there's so many different ways that you can do that now. And it has to be community centered, community controlled, and not board control or organization control. Because I went to a community meeting that the format, I'll tell you now, I would vote against it. It was unacceptable for taxpayers. It was controlled. You couldn't. It was just. It wasn't a good format for parent engagement. There was no engagement. It was more of a lecture.
Yeah,
and that's not that is belittling parents and taxpayers, and that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And like the point that you were making, so the superintendent wants to just tell people what she gonna do, how she gonna do it, when she want to do it, and then be like, yeah, and then give me money. You know what I mean? Like that just doesn't work. And the part where you said like the interactions can't always be negative, I absolutely agree with that. They can't always be negative.
They
like
can't.
I used to share office space with a woman, right? And every time she was, every time she decided she had to say something to me, it was to complain about something. And I was like, okay, listen, you're gonna have to tell me you like my shoes one day when I walk in here, so we can have an okay relationship. Because it can't be like every time you're talking to me, you're saying something negative or you complaining about something. Because I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that. So just for no reason, pick something that you like. And one of the days when I come here, be like, oh, I like your shoes or I like your green dress, so we can balance this out a little bit, because we're gonna start having some problems if every time I'm talking to you, it's something negative, and it's going to get to the point where I'm not going to even want to hear nothing else you got to say, because I'm like, she about to go say something negative again. So that's absolutely true.
And then, our board, we have advisory boards, facilities, diversity. I can keep going on and on. We have to listen to those recommendations. We can't just have them come up and do. Why do you think they don't come up? If you follow a school board meeting, you may have 2 or 3 advisory boards that come up and do a report. The board doesn't even listen. That's unacceptable. You appoint these people to make recommendations,
and they're volunteering their time, because I'm on
exactly.
an advisory board meeting, and I volunteer an hour or 2 hours a month, and I'm volunteering my time. And for you to not even look at my report and say, hey, we're going to take this into advisement, or we need more information and we appreciate your time. Yeah.
That's where it starts right there. And you wonder why you can't get people to join advisory boards. You wonder why you can't get people to come up with recommendations and speak during board meetings. You don't listen, but you want the constituents, you want the taxpayers and the parents to vote for a referendum, but you don't even listen to the advisory board members. And I'm not saying you should listen to all of their recommendations, but they're there for a reason, and they were created.
The board members pick
Antonio, the board members are the one that pick the people that they put on the advisory board. So you already pick somebody who you think is kind of aligned with your thoughts anyway, and you still not listening to what they got to say. So that's interesting in and of itself. So yeah. So apparently there seems to be a possibility that, there's a comment in the chat that suggests that the educator mindset is different from the board member mindset. And they want to know, like, how you gonna make that transition, or is there really a transition that needs to be made from thinking as an educator versus thinking as a board member?
So I agree with the comment to a certain extent. I'm always going to be an educator at heart, whether I'm a superintendent, principal, district staff. That's my heart. But it's something that comes along with that. My passion, my love, and my commitment to helping students. I've done it for years, whether it's through community programs or whether it's through the district. When you operate from a place of compassion, love, and students first, and what's right for students, there's no adjustment. You just can't be bought. You can't be bought, and you can't. You got to stand firm on what you believe in. Period. And that's if your truth is helping students and doing what's right for students, then what capacity you serve on, any decision that you make is going to be about what your philosophy and what you believe in. And mine is making sure students have the best opportunity to be successful, improving educational outcomes for students and families in our district. So I will operate from that premise, and that will be my guiding light.
All right. Thank you. All
All
right.
right. So how can you be reached? Where can people make some donations? Get some volunteer their time for you.
Buy some merch if you have some.
You know, their time.
Volunteer their time.
Listen, they can go to
Do I get a T-shirt if I make a $50 donation?
Okay, yeah, listen, I got a T-shirt for both of y'all. Go to Burgess, www.burgess district district 5.com. And on there is my donation link, how you can volunteer, my social media links. I'm also on Facebook. My Facebook account is open. It's Antonio Burgess, MED, and that stands for Masters of Education. You can always call my cell phone. If I don't answer, shoot me a text. Give me at least 24 hours to call back. My cell phone number is on my Facebook account. I believe in being accessible and reachable amongst people and people that you work for. And my number is 954-599-0197. Go there and donate, and let's move District 5 forward. I'm a product of District 5. I was educated in the same schools, North Fork Elementary School, right there off of Broward. We used to have the crabs. They used to come from that lake. They used to come into the classroom. I did go to North Andrews Gardens Elementary for 3 years. I got into the magnet program. Came back to Parkway Middle School, Cavaliers, and Dilla High School. I'm a product of District 5. Came back to the same district that raised me and provided opportunities for me. And I want to continue to do that for our students, because our kids deserve the same opportunities in District 5 that other students deserve out west. And that's going to be my goal. That's going to be my fight. I am the community, and I worked in the community for years since graduating high school. As a matter of fact, I started when I was in high school volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club. So I've always been community oriented and community centered. And now I believe it's my time to lead the students and families of District 5 forward. I believe we can do great things when we work together, and great things can happen. I'm looking forward to your vote on August 23rd,
The last day to vote.
2023.
That's the last day to vote. You got to shout out early voting. August 23rd is the last day to vote, but you can start voting by mail and early voting. So talk about that.
So early voting starts August
13th.
13th. Is 7 days. And it stops on that Sunday before August 23rd. So that's August 20th. August 13th through August 20th is early voting. You can go on my website as well. Please, there's a lot of things that have changed throughout this year through census and redistricting. Please, I beg you. I was talking to someone today. Double check and make sure that your precinct is still the same.
Yeah.
There have been precincts that have been combined in certain cities. Please do your due diligence. Your vote is your power. Your vote is your power. Check and make sure that you're able to vote. Check and make sure that everything is current. There have been a lot of changes. Some people have fallen off the road. Please check. And if you moved, You want to make sure that you're able to vote and not vote provisionally and at that new precinct. That is very, very important, family. Make sure that they have you on record to vote, because some people move within the district and their voting precinct that they used to vote at is not the same. So if you go to that poll that you were scheduled to vote at, you're going to have to vote provisionally. So you want to make sure that you do your due diligence, because voting is so important. Our ancestors, our people fought for this right. There's too much at stake for our future, future, and our future's future. And we got to make sure that we vote. And you make sure you vote for somebody that has a history, that has always led with character, integrity, and really passionate about the work in the community and about community. I think that's what's going to be important, that separates candidates from themselves. It's the passion and the love that they have and the work that they do, the work that they have been doing before even started running office, the work that they're doing in between running for multiple different offices in different seats. You want to make sure that you look at that and you really, take a look at that. And then you can Google it. You can Google my name. You can find me, and you'll find just my passion and love for students and families throughout Broward.
All right, so there's a comment in the chat that early voting, you can vote anywhere at any of the early voting sites, no matter where you live. So if you at work at some other end of the county and there's a voting site there, you can go and vote there. So during early voting, you can vote anywhere. But on election day, August 23rd, you have to vote in your precinct. And I also believe that if you want to, Mr. Burgess talked about how people's name has been falling off the roll. So you have to check your registration before July the 25th, I believe is the day that you need to make sure your registration is up to date and current in order for you to vote in the primary. So I think that's the last day that you have to do that. So make sure you check your registration, update it, do whatever it is you need to do. Request a mail-in ballot just in case you don't have time to go. You have an option, and you also get an opportunity to see the ballot before you actually vote. So request your mail-in ballot, vote early. And then on the last day you can vote for him in the primaries is August 23rd. And he wants to get 51% of the votes, so he does not have to run again in November. Okay?
Listen, please. You can go to my website, find out all your voting information. There are tabs on there that you can go to find out that information. And like I said, this campaign is about us. It's about every student, every parent, every educator, and every community stakeholder coming to the table and really working together to improve the educational outcomes for our communities.
And we know that election have consequences. We dealing with them right now. So y'all be careful who y'all vote for.
Yes.
Don't fall for the okie doke.
And listen, do your research, please. Do your and even if you don't do your research, and your research could mean something different for everyone. It can mean reaching out to someone that you know that is in tune and that is connected to different candidates and really in tune to the whole process. Mm-hmm. Do that. I have people that, I have friends and family members that do that as well. Find someone that you trust their opinion and their value their opinion when it comes to voting, and their ideals align with your ideals and your beliefs. Please don't just bubble anything. I will be the first name on the ballot. Antonio Burgess, go with the first, so we can be the first.
and in terms of like doing your research, like I'm a practicing attorney, but I don't practice a lot in Broward County Court. I practice mainly in immigration court, and there are judges that are on the ballot. And I have attorney friends that I call. I'm like, listen, tell me what's up, and I get their advice on who it is that I should vote for in any given election. So it's important to do that. If you don't know, ask somebody that you trust.
Please.
Don't leave it blank.
All right. So thank you so much for coming, talking, answering questions, clarifying some information. We really appreciate that. It's important that we want, the constituents to hear you, not on a forum where you got to talk fast, but on a place where everybody can get to know you better. So we do
especially with his seat, there's 7 of them. Those meetings,
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit.
that'd be a lot. You like, who said that? I don't remember.
I just want to give a shout out to Tamiko. Happy birthday, Tamiko.
What's up? Happy birthday, Tamiko.
I hope you're having a great day, sweetness. All right, so make sure you go to Burgess, www.burgessdistrict5.com. Donate your time, donate your money. And do your research, as he says. Do your research on.
And it's Antonio Burgess, MED, on all social media platforms.
No, Antonio MED on Facebook, on Instagram. It is should be Burgess District 5. But everything is pretty much Burgess District 5 on Twitter, on Instagram, and my Facebook, my campaign Facebook is Elect Antonio Burgess for Broward Schools District 5.
Awesome.
Okay. All righty.
I know I gave you a lot, but if you go to that website, you'll find it.
Yeah, BurgessDistrict5.com. And
the number 5.
Demond Gilles says, I've worked with Antonio with 5,000 role models, and he's been a blessing. His heart is definitely focused on the kids. And you just went on a college tour, right? Like you just took some kids on a college tour. And one of the other points I wanted to make is like, please highlight all of the things that you're talking about that's happening in District 5. Like they need to know that there's a thrift store there, that students are getting a chance to work there, because most people don't know that anything is happening. All they hear about is like, I don't know if that's all where the roof fell in or they got mold in the buildings. That's all, people typically hear on the panels about what's happening in District 5. So highlight all of those things, because that's an amazing thing, and that some of the, principals are having late night, opportunities for the students to stay. They have one of the schools where you said they're allowing them to wash their clothes. You got to talk about that. Those are all things that we build and expand on that, because that's important, because that's part of the full experience that students need in order for them to be better.
We have some very courageous and innovative leaders in District 5 that are truly about kids. And I've been able to see that from a lens as far as going to different schools and working with different children and just the leadership at the school. And I would tell you, I've yet to come across a principal, and not even a teacher. Right now, I'm working at Walker Elementary School, providing support to our exceptional students, and I'm doing that this summer. Every summer, I try to go back into a school and work into a school, because, like I said, I'm an educator at heart, and I don't want to forget that perspective about being a teacher. And I'm amongst them each and every day during the summer. And we have some amazing teachers in our schools that are committed to helping our students be successful. So there's a lot of great things going on in our district. And you're right.
Talk about them. Highlight them.
Sandra, we got to market it better.
Yeah, you got to highlight it,
Our
because I didn't
district
know that.
have put a lot of money towards our social media and marketing and advertisement for the district. And we might have to look at other large urban districts. For some reason, it seems like other urban large districts in the state, they're getting it right. So, my goal is to get up to the board and provide some change and work with my colleagues and my other at-large colleagues and make sure all students, but more specifically, District 5 is at the top.
Yes. And don't fall for that okie doke. It's a bunch of corporate people running for these school board seats, y'all. Don't let them tell y'all that's what y'all need. I was listening to some stuff yesterday, and I was like, it's okay. You ain't got to hear me.
No, I want to hear you. I can't hear you.
BurgessDistrict5.com. Check him out.
All right. I can't hear you, but I know it's well. Appreciate you all. Love you all.
Some money, all of that. BurgessDistrict5.com. Have a good one.
Okie dokie.
Yep. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
That's some good, it's good to hear that they have all of those things in District 5. And as many people that we've spoken to from District 5, this is the first we're hearing of this. Okay. And I interviewed candidates in 2020 that was running for District 5, and I didn't hear none of this stuff. So that's it's great to know that those types of things that are happening, and that's just another example of how he's in tune with that particular community. And we need to know that, and they need to highlight that. We don't always need to hear about the negative things that are happening, because all of those things are important. And for someone to know that means that they're definitely engaged and involved with that particular community. So think about that. That's what's up. I'm all for that. For real.
All right. So we'll be back here tomorrow, same time. With the final District 5 candidate. We did reach out to all of them, but we met everyone except for one, and I think that
it may or may not be final. The other one may reach out, and we might talk to them, but we'll see.
We'll do the best we can.
Yes.
So we try to do the best we can. So we'll be meeting with Natalie Lynch Walsh tomorrow. Oh, Dr. Natalie Lynch Walsh. Let me be careful, because yesterday somebody was saying somebody's name, and it was like, who is this Mr. Such and Such you're talking about? Because my name is Dr. Zeman.
and that's important. Hey, listen, they deserve that respect,
so
right? Like they
earn
that degree, and if that's respect, so they deserve that respect. So apologies.
I just have to make sure I say Dr. Lynch.
Absolutely. It's important. They earn them credentials.
Yeah, I don't want to mess up nobody's stuff now. So
nope.
We'll be meeting with her tomorrow at 5:45. I think we changed the time a little bit. And then we'll discuss, same kind of questions, see what's going on. There's like 7 people in this race, so everybody get a chance.
Pay attention, y'all. Don't fall for the okie doke is all I'm gonna say. All righty. Have a good night.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. All right.